Hey guys, it's Mike Sorg, and welcome to Level 4, the SAE AutoDrive Challenge podcast, the first AutoDrive Challenge podcast. Thank you everybody for joining us on this inaugural episode. Again, I'm Mike Sorg. I have been around a few of the SAE events as a podcaster and video producer, and maybe if you've been to some of the other ones in the SAE world, you've seen me around, and I'm looking forward to learning about with you and helping get some information out about what's going on around the AutoDrive Challenge podcast. On our first episode, we're going to get into a great conversation here. First, we have with us here in the studio, Chris Ciuca, the Director of Pre-Professional Education with us today. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mike?
Excellent. And also on the line from GM, we have Mark Johnson. He's a steering committee member for the AutoDrive Challenge as well. How you doing, Mark?
Good morning, Mike. Doing just fine. Glad to be here. Thank you.
We wanted to get you guys together here and talk a little bit about what's going on in GM's partnership here with SAE and everything. Where did the idea for a collaborative, autonomous collegiate competition start for you guys?
Well, Mike, 5 years ago, autonomous vehicle engineers weren't very prevalent. It was becoming apparent that a whole new autonomous automated driving industry was beginning to emerge. AV positions, autonomous vehicle positions for engineers were being created, and those just didn't exist before at many companies. With AutoDrive Challenge, we're helping to inspire and cultivate the future engineers of autonomous driving. It's so cool to be a part of this great journey, both from a learning perspective and also in the sense that we're helping to drive the future of autonomous vehicles forward. In late 2015, Ken Kelzer, who's the GM Vice President for Global Vehicle Components and Subsystems Engineering, and he gets the credit for kicking us off and starting us down this path. Ken called me, asked if I thought there was a need for some kind of multi-year collegiate thing that involved automated driving. I said yes. Sounded super interesting to me. And so, of course, Ken gave me the assignment and asked if I could help scope out how to do it and put a proposal together that he could, socialize and review with our engineering leadership at General Motors.
Excellent. So how was that partnership between GM and SAE International formed for this new technology competition kind of in general?
Well, I reached out to my good friend and partner, Chris Ciuca at SAE, really due to Chris's personal expertise as an educator and SAE's proven experience in running award-winning collegiate design competitions. Chris and I talked by phone for a while, actually several times over several days, and I think the idea resonated with both of us, and we met along with Bob Seckler, who is probably world-renowned name in SAE's collegiate design series, in November of 2015, 2 days before Thanksgiving, actually, and we sat down and talked about a lot of things around how to do this and what success would look like. And we agreed that the idea had a lot of promise to engage an entirely different set of student engineers than other collegiate competitions we could think of. And we were just so excited about the potential of doing this. We worked through December, through the holidays, and into early January, and we put together a solid proposal with some ideas on how to do this.
Chris, when they came to you with the with this concept, like what was it that kind of really stuck out as a really interesting challenge or opportunity here?
Sure. Mark said it best. When you look at the way the industry is changing, and when you look at SAE's history of offering these educational programs for students for workforce development, one of the most exciting things was that long-standing history that we have with General Motors. When you look at their support of SAE educational programs, from the K-12 race through the Award of Motion program up through the Collegiate Design Series, when you start a conversation like that, it's a serious conversation. It's not one of those pieces that you sit around and you talk about something, you get excited about it, and then it may or may not happen. We knew from the very beginning that this thing had legs, and we were going to be able to really engage universities in a serious way moving forward. So that was the piece that was most exciting for me technology aside, student learning aside, right now in the very beginning, but there was an opportunity to really make something happen and really do something special. And when you look back at that and think about what we've been able to create as a team between General Motors and SAE, since that conversation a couple days before Thanksgiving, just in 2015, already having a live event under our belt out in Yuma, Arizona, and going to Michigan next year, and then yet to be determined year 3. But it's amazing how fast something like this can happen when you put the partnership together in the right way.
Yeah, that's a heck of a turnaround.
It was a very fast, aggressive turnaround, but it was, it's something that needs to be done. That's the way industry's moving. We really don't know exactly what kind of jobs these kids or these students are going to have in 3 years from now. We know the way the industry is shifting and heading, but we don't know exactly what the jobs are going to look like. And that's one of the most exciting thing about the AutoDrive Challenge is it's not just positioning students to build an automated vehicle. It's positioning students to write code. It's positioning students to take all these systems and make them work together in an integrated way, because we know, I mean, look at the technology in your cell phone, how fast it changes. We know that that's how fast LiDAR is going to change. We know that that's how fast cameras are going to change. And all those pieces that the students are working with, we're teaching them within a structure to deal with those types of changes and how to think through those processes. That's the most exciting piece for me.
So, how are the goals of the competition relative to the changing mobility industry today? There's a lot of
Sure.
You hear a lot about the automated cars and everything, and there's a lot of stuff kind of on the verge, it seems.
Yeah, I think one of the things for me is it was important that we built this out, as Mark said, over time, right? It wasn't, if you look at some of the other collegiate competitions that exist, it's kind of we go through a process and we go through an engineering design experience that lasts a year, then the students perform at an event, and that's great when you're looking at things like project management or building a team. But something like automated technologies and automated designs and building an integrated system, it takes time to build out. And that's one of the pieces that's special about AutoDrive is it's not the same every year. We started in year 1 with dynamic events, but year 2 dynamic events are going to be a lot further expanded. We'll have in last year where we had stationary targets, this year we'll have things moving around. We'll have students walking into situations where they don't know exactly what's going to happen. There's not a prescribed format for the types of competitions that they'll experience, and that does take time to build student learning out that way.
At GM, we envision a future with 0 crashes, 0 emissions, and 0 congestion. And so automated driving systems and electric vehicles are fundamental enablers. And GM was very excited to donate a Chevrolet Bolt EV to each of the 8 participating universities to use as their platform for their automated driving system development for this competition. When we set out to do AutoDrive Challenge, we sat down and set some pretty specific goals. The first was to increase the visibility of autonomous driving to the general public. We wanted to immerse university students and researchers into this autonomous vehicle technology. In other words, we wanted to advance the curriculum, build excitement around it for students and faculty, and basically raise it in the view of the university administrations. We also wanted to leverage any existing university research and class projects and basically spin up the whole activity to develop new concepts, new ideas, new approaches, new solutions in components, sensors, software, or other systems that would help further the cause of autonomous driving. We certainly wanted also to engage our suppliers and suppliers of autonomous technology in general, get them closer to us, get them closer to these participating universities, again, to really help spur the development of automated driving systems and related technology. And of course, selfishly, we also took this on to kind of help identify potential candidates, the best and brightest from these university teams. They are potentially great hires for lots of companies because they have proven automated driving experience. They're very desirable.
For General Motors, how has the end goal of the competition at level 4 been seen in the first year and moving into year 2? How's that progress going?
Well, Mike, one of the very challenging parts of designing this competition was estimating how much each university could accomplish in an academic year. This is a very complex and fast moving field of technology. We put a great team in place from General Motors to help chart the course, technical experts and people working day to day in many of these areas. But we debated seriously, strenuously, and for a lot of hours about how to construct a set of challenges that escalated in complexity or difficulty over a 3 year period. I mean, we wanted this competition to be challenging, but not something that would be impossible. And at least so far in year one, I think we've got the glide path pretty good. Year one involved the teams demonstrating that they had thought about the societal impact of automated driving. They knew about mapping databases. They knew how to have their Intel computer. Intel's a great partner in this. Uh, how that computer could drive the car, accelerate, decelerate, turn, reverse, that they understood LiDAR, radar, camera images, how they could integrate those images together and do some simple tasks like drive in a straight line, stop at a stop sign, uh, drive down a curvy road course, stay in the lanes, detect and avoid static objects in the road. And I'm really pleased to say that in year one, every team brought a vehicle that performed some, if not all, of those complex functions. Every team took the field and rolled down the track. Okay, none of them very quickly, but it was a good start.
So we talk about how fast this is moving and everything, and you talk about societal impacts. Between things that are happening in society with these tests and that fast moving technology, like even between year 1 and 2, or maybe as you're looking to 3, is there a lot of kind of a movement, kind of reacting to what's going on in the industry here over like these 3 years?
I would say that our competition plan kind of follows what I understand to be general industry practices. You start with simple tasks, and you work up the difficulty of the driving situations that honestly we all take for granted when we get behind the wheel of the car. Uh, you know, you see things move. You have moving objects. You have different speed zones. You have crosswalks. You've got pedestrians. You've got people standing at the side of the road. You've got traffic signals, intersections, railroad crossings, parking spots. There's all kinds of things that we take for granted when we get behind the wheel of the car. And we are going to continue in year two to challenge our teams to sense and respond to those things in the environment while they execute some of these tasks by computer. I'm really looking forward to it.
To follow up on that social responsibility piece, that was the piece that was, we in competition design, we started to look at how do we, I remember talking to some of the students about, I understand what we're doing. We all understand what we're doing through this competition, but I want you to think about my dad or my grandfather or your grandmother and what all this means, right? Because there's this skewed view. So we instituted what we called the social responsibility portion of the competition last year, where students had to think about it from that perspective, right? They're going out and they're doing great things for the purpose of safety, for the purpose of congestion, but what does that mean? How do we talk about that in the societal space that is somewhat scared of this type of technology? So that was really important to us.
Let me just pile on here. I was super excited that the universities took the social responsibility aspect of this competition very seriously. We had teams who went out into their communities um, and talked to people, basically surveyed residents about, told them about their project that they were working on, asked them what they thought automated driving would mean to them. And the answers, the research these teams did with their local communities, it was just fascinating.
Chris, for SAE International, how was AutoDrive Challenge engaging students in different and new fields here?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see the dynamic of what's happening within the universities. Mark had mentioned earlier about going through the evaluation process to really look at what and how the universities were ready to go and ready to do this. We went through a pretty extensive RFP process, and I know Mark and myself and several other members of the team went through and read every single one of those RFPs and really looked at the structure of the university and how they were going to build out these teams. I think one of the byproducts that I'm most proud of in this competition is when you really look into the university system and how the teams are being constructed. We have sub teams that are happening, like, we'll bring 20 or 30 students to the competition to actually go through the dynamic test and do the static presentations. But when you really go back into the universities and see that you have teams that are in charge of developing and interpreting LiDAR data. You have teams that are responsible for working with the data that's coming into the system from the radar systems. And then those teams, just like in a corporate environment, are working together to assess and determine exactly what that data means and how it can be fed into the system and interpreted by the system in the cars. So when you see that type of structure, historically, SAE's education programs have really focused on the mechanical engineering degrees where we really started. That's where our roots were. And if you see things like Baja and Formula SAE starting to transition to have computer science students coming in, you have marketing teams. We saw that right away with AutoDrive. It was there are probably more computer science engineers that are involved with AutoDrive than there are the traditional mechanical type engineering degrees. These systems that are built out within the universities are just absolutely amazing. It's affecting hundreds of kids at each one of the participating schools.
I will tell you that my favorite memory of the year one competition was on the first day, the first dynamic challenge we had at our proving ground in Yuma, Arizona. At the start line, the photographer was standing next to me with his super high speed camera aimed at the car, and the car began to move very slowly forward. The camera whirred. I mean, it was purring. He had the button down. I don't know how many frames a minute or a second he was shooting, but he was an experienced car race photographer. And after a few seconds where the car had moved, a couple feet, he said, "Wow, I need to recalibrate myself." So, but again, year one was about precision control and basic sensing and reacting, not speed. But we're super looking forward and excited about year two. We'll be another step closer to our future.
Excellent. Chris, do you have any fond memories of the first year here?
Yeah, it's just so interesting to see how the students react and the leadership that bubbles up out of some of the teams. Not to mention any individual schools, but watching some of those students actually transition as leaders on every single team, and allowing the faculty advisors that step back and allow that learning to happen is just so rewarding for all of us on the team. Just to see those kids rise to the next level, and there's countless examples of that. That's probably the most personally rewarding thing for me.
We're really excited to have 8 great partner schools to General Motors involved in this competition. Kettering University, Michigan State University, Michigan Tech, North Carolina A&T, Texas A&M, the University of Toronto, the University of Waterloo, and Virginia Tech. They're great teams, and we're so pleased they wanted to participate in this groundbreaking competition.
In addition to General Motors, I think it's important that we call out the Intels, the Continentals, the MathWorks, the OXTSs, the Velodyne lidars, who are other folks that have really stepped up to the plate, not only with materials and sponsorship to help run the day-to-day of the particular event, but the talent that they bring to the table through mentorship and helping to support the teams. This is so clearly a community-based partnership, and through GM's leadership in pulling these teams together, and SAE's skill set to run some of these student competitions and really do this in a meaningful way. We couldn't do it without a large community of support. Thanks to our partners Bosch, DS SolidWorks, FEV, HERE, Kistler, MSC Software, Hexagon, On Semiconductor, the SAE Detroit section, and ZF.
Well, looking forward to year 2 of this competition. I'm glad you guys could get together with us and talk about it here today. Thank you, Mark, for joining us.
Thank you, Mike. Let's do it again sometime.
And thank you again, Chris, as well. And where can people find more information about the AutoDrive Challenge?
You can visit SAE.org.
There you go. And make sure you download the app, too.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. Again, please, if you haven't yet, subscribe to this on your favorite podcast player. And, of course, you can find all the episodes as they come here on autodrive.fireside.fm or on the podcast link on your SAE AutoDrive Challenge app on your smartphone. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening to Level 4, the SAE AutoDrive Challenge podcast. Make sure you download our app on your smartphone for updates and contact information. The show notes for this episode and all others can be found at autodrive.fireside.fm.